a better understanding of the world around you, for a greater knowledge of the world you live in. Wolf and Dessauer in downtown Fort Wayne and downtown Huntington brings the Screen News Digest, a chapter of living history, into your classroom.
A storybook land, immortalized in legend and lore by Rudyard Kipling, steeped in ancient ways and thrust into modern times. An abundant land, a productive land, picturesque and diverse, tense and troubled Kashmir. (1609). Ships of the British East India Company open up trade with India, offering at first wealth in exchange for goods. Later it becomes ruled by force, a dark chapter of blood and plunder. When the Indians fight back, the British call it mutiny. The Indians call it a war for independence. In 1858, the British government takes power from the East India Company, and viceroys rule in the name of the distant but all-powerful Crown. Amid fantastic pomp and splendor in 1911, King George and Queen Mary come to India to see and to be seen by their hundreds of millions of subjects. England's might and majesty seem secure. But the shy son of an obscure Indian official will one day humble that empire and set his people free. His name, Mohandas Gandhi. Shunning traditional family occupations, ignoring parental objections, he goes to London to study law. As a young attorney, Gandhi settles in South Africa and takes up the cause of equal rights, founding his concept of non-violent action. In the Boer War, he serves as the leader of a volunteer Indian ambulance corps. Then, accompanied by the wife he had married at 13, Gandhi returns to India. He has given up Western dress, renounced all worldly goods. And he finds that his fame has preceded him. Indians expect a lion, a giant of a man. But they come to worship the tiny figure who dares to challenge an empire. And they believe him when he says inner freedom will lead to outer freedom. His campaign of non-cooperation becomes a campaign against foreign-made cloth. He urges all Indians to weave, and the spinning wheel becomes a symbol of non-violence. In 1931, Gandhi begins his most daring experiment, a 200-mile walk to the sea. It seems that all India is with him. After 24 days, with world attention focused on him, he will dip his hands into the sea and pick up some salt left by the waves. Thus, he breaks the British law, which makes it a crime to possess salt not bought from the British salt monopoly. Then, every villager on India's long coast wades into the sea to collect salt. Salt, says Gandhi, is as essential as air and water, and the salt of the earth and sea rightfully belong to India's people. The battle for independence cannot now be stopped as Mohandas Gandhi walks off serenely to jail. Thousands of Gandhi's disciples are imprisoned with him. Non-violence, says Gandhi, requires more bravery than violence. Pandit Nehru, Gandhi's chief disciple, is among those arrested by the British. In the next 15 years, as India struggles toward independence, Gandhi undertakes a series of fasts to protest against continued foreign rule. To his followers, he has become the Mahatma, the great soul. Pandit Nehru emerges as the political leader of the freedom movement, but Mahatma Gandhi is and remains until his death the spiritual head. Finally, in 1947, independence nears for India, but for Pandit Nehru, there is a price. He agrees to the partition of colonial India into two separate religious states. Pakistan, with 100 million Muslims, is created as a counterpart to India with 300 million Hindus. Gandhi calls the partition a disaster. But the decision has been made, and partition is now only a matter of details. Certain border provinces vote to determine their future status. Muslims and Hindus, bitter in their hatred of each other, are now free to turn hatred into violence. August 15th, 1947, Independence Day for India and Pakistan, but Gandhi is not present. Why the celebration, he asks. I see only rivers of blood. Already the province of Kashmir is in dispute. Pakistan, the shaded area, and India lay claim to the territory, which is roughly the size of Idaho. India insists that Kashmir has been and must be an integral part of the Indian nation. Pandit Nehru speaks more personally. Kashmir is my ancestral home, he says. It is a piece of my heart. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Pakistan's leader, points out that 80% of Kashmir's population is Muslim. When the British begin their departure, an era ends and an era begins. Prejudices and passions explode, neighbor against neighbor, Hindu against Muslim, in an unholy war that takes more than 500,000 lives. Kashmir becomes a symbol of the anguish and agony of independence. When the United Nations Security Council meets in Paris in 1948, India and Pakistan accuse each other of aggression in Kashmir. After months of hearings and debate, the Council succeeds in drawing a ceasefire line that gives 1/3 of Kashmir to Pakistan and 2/3 to India. It also orders a plebiscite to determine the wishes of the people in the territory. Pakistan agrees, India does not. And fighting continues. In 16 years, 20,000 people die in battles along the ceasefire line. Then in 1965, something new happens. Armed guerrillas begin a campaign of attacks on Indian posts deep inside Kashmir. The men, after being captured, are identified as Pakistanis by a United Nations truce team. They apparently have been trained, armed, and sent by the Pakistan government. Dazed, helpless, bewildered, the victims of the new aggression can only weep. India responds to the guerrilla attacks by sending troops across the ceasefire line to seize 3 Pakistani outposts. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri tells his countrymen that the action has been taken to end once and for all infiltration and aggression by Pakistan. The subcontinent echoes and shudders to the sounds of a full-scale, undeclared war. Down the mountainsides, across the frontiers, from India into Pakistan, from Pakistan into India, come the fighting men of both nations. Flames and smoke rising from the bombed-out villages and towns of Kashmir dot the once peaceful countryside. Again, refugees clog the dirt roads of the troubled land, fleeing with whatever earthly possessions they can carry. The innocent victims of ancient hatreds are a living reminder of the words that Mahatma Gandhi spoke on Independence Day. I see only rivers of blood. With this grave new threat to world peace, the United Nations Security Council is summoned into an emergency session in New York. It is the 125th meeting on the recurring Kashmir question. Presiding is America's new ambassador to the United Nations, Arthur Goldberg, who tells the delegates,
I regret that the first time I meet with you formally must be a time of crisis. India was the first to destroy the atmosphere of moderation which was sought to be established between the two countries. India offered gratuitous provocation to Pakistan as much as to the United Nations when in December 1964 it proceeded to annex Kashmir so as to thwart forever the self-determination of the people of Kashmir. The present hostilities originated with large-scale infiltrations of armed and unarmed personnel from Pakistan, and until the activities of such personnel cease, and until all such personnel are withdrawn from the Indian side of the ceasefire line, peace cannot be restored, for which Pakistan must accept full responsibility.
We should in this council act quickly. We should speak with one voice. We should make our call for an end to conflict unanimous and unmistakable. In doing so, we shall be speaking with the true voice of the United Nations.
I now put to the vote the resolution in document S/6662. Those in favor will please raise their hands.
Il n'y a pas d'objection, je mets au voix le projet de résolution S6662. Ceux qui sont pour sont priés de lever la main.
by a unanimous vote of nations large and small, the Council asks for an immediate ceasefire and settlement through negotiations directed by Secretary General U Thant.
The members of the Council have indicated, by unanimously adopting the resolution, that we welcome in particular the statement of our distinguished Secretary General in light of this resolution that he intends to proceed promptly to the subcontinent. We hope, we know that his prestige, his impartiality, his fairness, and the dignity of his office may help bring this tragedy to a prompt close and point the way towards establishment of an enduring peace between these two great countries. We, the members of the Council, indeed the people of the world, ask for no more, we expect no less.
In the search for a settlement in Kashmir, hopefully a new beginning has been made by nations and men of goodwill.
To widen your horizons, to stimulate your interest in things going on about you, Wolf & Dessauer, one of America's great department stores, has presented the Screen News Digest as